Welcome to Power Podcast with Queen Beauté, where mindset meets transformation. Each episode invites you to awaken your mind, expand your perspective, and rise into your power. Today, we're exploring reality. We are coming back to the conversation of the nature of reality to add to it, to strengthen our understanding, improve our awareness, and of course, use it to our advantage to live our best lives. So, how does reality work? We've started this discussion in the past, episode 2, Nature of Reality. How does reality work? If this is your first time hearing this, what's your answer to that question? How does reality work? There may be people who wonder what you're even asking. They don't understand what you mean by reality and how it works. That's someone who hasn't ever questioned fundamental beliefs, and how we view reality is a core fundamental belief. We may have, our belief may have been shaped by others. It may have been crafted through our own experiences. Either way, we have some kind of belief. We all have some kind of belief on how we think reality works. When we say reality, we mean, what is all of this? How does any of this happen? That's at the biggest level. How does any of this function? What makes the world go round? That's what I mean by how does reality work? Whatever your answer, how do you know that's exactly how reality works? Is it that someone told you? Is it you think because that makes the most sense? It's the most logical, the most reasonable, the most probable. How do you know, however you answered that question, how does reality work, is exactly how it works? How certain are you that you are correct, that this is how reality works? How certain are you? Are you 100% certain? How can you be 100% certain? So here's the thing. The nature of reality cannot be proven or disproven. I've heard the argument that whoever is making the claim has the burden of proof. They are the ones that have to prove that something is the case. So if you're saying reincarnation or there being a hereafter is the way that this reality works, is this is just a temporary stop, and then the final destination is somewhere else, or maybe the final journey is towards enlightenment. If you're claiming that's how it works, I've heard people say, well, then the burden of proof is on you to prove it. And if you can't, then it's not true. Then it can't be true because you can't even prove it. Well, consider, even if they can't prove it, which they can't, we also cannot prove that's not the case. We can't prove that reincarnation is not what actually happens. Maybe it is, and we can't prove that it isn't. We can't prove either way, though. We cannot prove either way how reality works. Let's get into some more specifics here. The people who are on the side of no, that's not how reality works, tend to sit back and watch as the people who say this is how reality works not be able to prove it. And then go, see, well, so you believe in something that's not even true. I think it's more productive to scrutinize our beliefs, our mindsets, and keep the ones that empower us, the ones that work best for us, the ones that work in our favor towards living our best lives, what we believe will be our best lives. So I think it's more productive to scrutinize the beliefs that we hold. A foundational belief is how we think reality works. There's no proving 100% it's like this, or 100% it's like this, or 100% it's a mix of this and this. There are so many beliefs around reality. How do we know which one is correct? How do we know which one, which single basket to put all of our apples into? Where we say, yep, if we're going to roll the dice, we're doing it right here. And this particular one, this one, I'm putting everything on. This version right here, this answer. This is how reality works. I'm putting all into this. Well, what are the stakes here? What's at stake? What are we staking on a particular belief around how reality works? Our souls, eternity, our spirits, our essence, how we will spend every moment forever after this human experience? Is that what we're staking? If so, that's pretty high stakes. If you believe that we have a soul and that we are spiritual beings having a physical existence, a human experience, and that it's it's the highest stakes possible, because if we make a mistake, we could spend the rest of our times in the shadow realm, or reincarnated as a worm or dung beetle or something like that. If those are the stakes, then wouldn't it be imperative that we choose correctly right now? If we are staking our very existence on the belief we have around reality, wouldn't it matter what we believe about reality? Here's the thing with the different beliefs around the nature of reality. They're generally mutually exclusive, where if you're in one framework that says this is how reality works, let's say it's a specific religion, this is how reality works. You have to follow these rules and you have to be this kind of person. Usually, there's no overlapping allowed, where you can pick the best of, say, 5 different religions. Like, I like this part, this part, this part, this part, this part, and I'm going to mash them together. Then I'll be good to go. I'll be in the best position. Usually that's not allowed. It's you either believe that there's only one god or goddess, for example, or you believe that there are multiple gods or goddesses, or you don't believe in either of them. You're supposed to only follow source or something like that. Then how do you choose? How do you know which one is right? There's no being sure that what someone said happens later is actually what's going to happen later. How do we know that what happens later for us isn't something different from what happens later for someone else? How do we know where we will go if we go anywhere at all? How do we know? And how do we know that we can determine where we go? How do we know that's even within our power? What if it's not? What if it's not within our power and religions and different beliefs around the nature of reality were created by people to try to give them some semblance of control when really we have none at all? How do we know that's not the case? Again, if this is the highest stakes possible that we are gambling with, how do we choose correctly? What is correct? Well, correct, you would think, is the exact algorithm, the exact formula or recipe that if you follow this to a T, you are guaranteed some outcome. That's how I would view what the correct choice would be if we're talking high stakes here. If there's a win or lose, or a win and not so much of a win, we want to win. If we want to win, how do we choose? If the choices we have, we can't overlap. We can't choose more than one. We can't choose the best. We can't modify anything. But we also don't know which one of those choices will actually lead to the win. If we don't know for sure, we don't know for sure until it's over, until our time is up. This is crazy, right? For some people, it's very simple. They're like, you know what? It's just this. That's it. There's no discussion. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to consider. I know for a fact that it's this. I'm putting all my apples in this basket. That's it. All right. If you are living as your highest self and you are living your best life, go for it. Hold tight. Hold tight to that belief or those set of beliefs. Also keep in mind, how do you know whether you're living your best life? Again, we can't live parallel lives. I say again because I mentioned this in episode 2, Nature of Reality. We can't live parallel lives and then choose, oh, this one is the better life. Let me go with that one and stop this one here. So we don't know what would have happened had we chosen differently. All we can do is make choices with what information we have right now. Are you playing small? That's really what I'm asking. Are you playing small though? Are you keeping yourself in a box that's too small? Are you able to fully extend? Are you able to fully reach, stretch? Are you? Are you going for the biggest asks? If you are, and with whatever set of beliefs is what's powering that train, go for it. Go for it. If you're not going for your biggest dreams, if you're not playing as big as possible, maybe it's because your fundamental belief around how reality works is holding you back. Consider it. This is what we do here. We try to awaken our minds, expand our perspectives, and rise into our powers through the power of mindset. So, how are you viewing reality? Back to the we can't choose multiple things, where some people believe we can't choose multiple things. Like, I can't choose this part of Christianity, this part of Islam, this part of Buddhism, this part of mysticism, this part of Wicca, put all those together, and that will be the recipe. That'll be the formula. That is the mix that I should have in order to go to heaven, reach enlightenment, transcend to some other frequency, realm, or essence. How do we know? We don't know. The thing with not knowing is what could go wrong if we choose one thing over another? What's the opportunity cost? The opportunity cost is what's at stake. Like if I could have gone to heaven and instead I go to the shadow realm, oops, I chose wrong. I did something wrong. If it was even my choice. If it was even my choice in the first place. If we're assuming that it's even within our power to choose whether we go to the up or the down, then we feel like, well, we should choose correctly. Okay, so let's say I choose this set of beliefs and they tell me I'm supposed to do this, 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 and I got to be like this, this, this. And that will guarantee, not, well, you more likely than not would go to the up and not the down. But if it's supposed to be, I'm guaranteed that, okay, I'm probably playing small. What's the harm in playing small? Well, there's no harm in playing small, but are there downsides to playing small? Of course. It's you're missing out on what could have been. Missing out on what could have been. Is it possible that you could still end up going to the preferred place by doing different things that perhaps are beyond what's in your current recipe, your current mix? If your current mix says something like, you're not allowed to work, you have to rely on someone else to make money. Well, what's the harm in that? There's no harm in that. Well, are there downsides? Yes, because where is your agency? Where is your independence? You don't have any because you are required in this set of beliefs, you're required to depend on someone else. Should something happen to that someone else that you are dependent on, well, what happens to you? Would you just say, that's just my lot in life? Those are just the cards I was dealt? Oh, well, you could. Absolutely. You could. You could stay right there and hold on to that. Or another option is you consider that maybe that's not what whoever created you or whatever created you wants for you. Maybe they don't want you to play small. Maybe they don't want you to be in this box. Maybe your interpretation of what their purpose is for you is limited and not at all what they envision. How do you know? How do you know you have the right message? We have a lot of signals that come in all the time. All the time. We have signals constantly coming in. How do we know which ones to actually pay attention to? Is it just whichever one we notice the most frequently? Is it the one that we grew up with? The one that's been most persistent? If you've never questioned the nature of reality, or if you felt guilty, then this may be an uncomfortable conversation to have. I get that. It may be an uncomfortable conversation to have. I'll talk about myself for a bit. My views on the nature of reality have not held steady over the years. Growing up, I was not in a religious home. We didn't go to church. We didn't worship in any particular way. Middle school, things started to change because I had a friend who invited me to Sunday school, Korean Baptist Church. It was a Korean Baptist church, and she invited me to go with her and her family on Sundays. My dad allowed it. I don't remember him saying anything around it one way or another. Didn't grow up with him saying anything about faith or religion. I went to this Sunday school and I wasn't really sure what to do. It was, I didn't have anyone saying anything about religion or God before that. Then I go to this place where that's all they talk about. And we're reading this book and we're supposed to use this information in our lives. And it was weird to me. I thought it was weird. I also didn't question it. I mean, it felt weird, but I just thought this is just the way it is. I was a kid. Me personally, I didn't question it. I didn't go, hey, I knew from a young age this didn't make sense. That was not me. It was, okay, I guess. I don't know. I don't know anything. I guess so. I went with this friend to Sunday school several times. We really didn't even focus. We weren't very focused at all. We were probably unruly, the group of us, unruly middle schoolers, with puberty and all. I didn't really do anything with religion after I moved away from that friend and thus didn't go to church anymore until I was in early adulthood. I think I might have been 18 or 19, at a level 18 or a level 19. When I don't know how it came up. It might have been a coworker who invited me to her church. I don't remember how I found her. I think that might have been what it was. I had a coworker invite me to her church. I didn't know what to expect. I had only been to the Korean Baptist church. This next church that I went to, I don't even remember what kind of church it was or what branch of Christianity that it was. I just know I was really uncomfortable. And I'll tell you what happened. I think they probably told me to sit in the front. And I thought, okay, maybe that's where they put the new people. That way everybody can see who's new to welcome them. Well, at one point in the sermon or service, everyone got up and surrounded me and started clapping. That was supposed to be their way of springing on, hey, welcome, yay, yay, you for being here with us. I surrounded me, clapping. It was loud. It was totally unexpected. I was so uncomfortable. I didn't go back to that church because I didn't like it. I don't even really remember much of what was said. I've heard through just media from different pastors, preachers, some pretty great messages that sound like anyone can use this information and find value in it. This sounds like a lesson anybody can learn from. I love that. I love the lessons, learning the lessons that will empower me, ones that will strengthen me, ones that will elevate me. Yes, to those lessons. Give me those lessons. It's just the context that they've been in have typically been in a religious scene. Anyway, so I didn't go back to this church and I was so uncomfortable and I was like, nah, why are they putting the focus on me? I'm just like trying to check things out. I don't want to try anything else. At some point, I found myself thinking, what if this is just a whole misunderstanding and this is not actually how things work? I went to atheism, where I was like, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in anything. I did think the agnostics were a curious bunch. because it was like they believe something. They don't believe that there's nothing. They believe that there's something, but there's not really a consensus on what exactly that something is. And I thought, nah, I'm gonna just say I don't believe there's anything because where's the proof? So I was hanging out with atheists once. I remember the date was supposed to be 666. It was June 6th, 2006. I had joined an atheist meetup group in the state I was living in at the time. They were having a meeting. They were just going to get together, hang out on 666. So, like, make a mockery of how 666 is supposed to be the sign or the number of the devil, and show that nothing evil was happening, that it wasn't the apocalypse wasn't going to start. And I thought, well, okay, let me see what they're doing. I mean, I'm not really one for parties, but let me check it out. While I was there was a lot of talk on, see, there's nothing, like they can't even prove it. And I thought, that's tough if you were in the believing camp to prove it, because what would you do? How would you convince these people? Because these people, they have a retort every time you say something. Because I had questions and I would casually ask them, well, how do you know that it's not that there's a God, that we were created by a God or goddess or something like that? And I would ask them, and they would answer me. And so I just thought, wow, I'm glad I'm not on the believer end, because I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything that actually holds up as evidence. I can't think of anything. We could say something like, well, how else do you explain blah, blah phenomenon? That's not really an argument, though. That doesn't mean that it's a creator, though. Especially someone who's more science-based and a non-believer, they would say, oh, science or evolution, or it's just something that we don't know yet. That doesn't mean it's some all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good creator. And I found myself stumped, because I was like, well, how, if you can't prove it, then what are you doing? Why would you choose that then? Like, if you can't prove that's the way to go, that's the way to live, why would you follow that? And I just lingered with just that. I also found, just over time, that the atheism wasn't quite where I felt I landed. I thought, well, but if I'm wrong, I'm gonna go to, HE, if I'm wrong, because I haven't been worshiping and praising and praying, and oh, this is kind of high stakes. So I got to the point where I was back to believing that there was something, but I didn't know which to choose. There's like all these different branches and all these options. And it's like, well, how do I know which one's supposed to be the right one? Because they all say they're the right one. So how do I pick? My ex-husband was Muslim. So when I met him, he was Muslim. I was a believer of sorts, but I didn't have like a firm belief in anything. And when I asked him questions around religion, because I had never known a Muslim before, or if I had, they hadn't told me that they were Muslim, so I hadn't known someone Muslim before. He was the first person. And so I'd ask him all these questions, and I said stuff about, well, isn't the word of God isn't that what the Bible is? And he said something to the effect of no, that it had been corrupted over time, and it wasn't the word of God, but that the Quran was. And I said, what? How do you know? And he said something like, it's never been changed over the millennia. And so I thought that maybe that was more solid than something that felt kind of like a hodgepodge of different voices into like one collection, into one particular book. I'm telling you, just that was my perspective. That's just my perspective. That was my experience, and I'm sharing it with you because I want you to get something from it. So anyway, what I ended up doing was converting to Islam. I converted to Islam because there were some parts of it that I liked. And I'm just going to tell you straight up, there were parts that I didn't. And I just ignored those. I just ignored them. I cherry picked. But I also did that when I was with Christianity. I just cherry picked. It was like, oh, like women have to be subservient and bow their heads and cover their hair and whatever it was. And there's some overlap with like Islam and Christianity and covering the hair. And some people are like, no, the Old Testament, New Testament. And there are debates on what exactly women right now should be doing versus what women had to do back then. I got into Islam. I was cherry picking. And I'll just make it a short story is I was like, then I found out about the discussion on the nature of reality. I had already started drifting away in Islam because of the pressure that I had to be like this, I had to do this, I had to do this and not do this. And I just thought, why do I feel shackled? Like, I've always felt that way, no matter what the religion was, that there was always some kind of restriction. I didn't feel strengthened. I didn't feel that I was encouraged to be bigger, better, stronger, brighter. I never felt that. I never felt that. It was always, you got to stay right here. Don't go anywhere else. Okay? Here's the perimeter. This is the boundary. You stay here and you'll probably go to heaven. Probably, not guaranteed. Like probably go to heaven. We're not for sure. But if you go outside of this perimeter, you're definitely not going to heaven or paradise. Well, I started drifting away. And then I learned about the submersion course that Steve Pavlina offered about the nature of reality. And I was like, what? What you mean nature of reality? What you talking about, Steve? What do you mean the nature of reality? So I read what he was writing about that and I thought, okay. It came to me at a time when I was open to it. I was primed to hear the message. I think that if it had come to me maybe at any other time, perhaps I wouldn't have been ready. Perhaps I would have been too determined to hang on to my beliefs for fear that if I question it, that if I even question it, not even do anything different other than think differently about it, that somehow that was blasphemous and I was going to the underground. I was going to the H-E-N-N to burn forever and ever. If I even question it. So there were times when I was stronger in that, where I have to follow all these rules. I got to be exactly like this. Otherwise, I'm just going to burn forever and ever. I mean, who wants to burn forever and ever? Nobody. Nobody wants to burn forever and ever. And so this is how fear of what might happen, not something that's already happened. It's like, it might happen. It might not. But the fear that it might happen is keeping us neatly inside this little box. Anyway, the submersion, when I listened to it, that opened my mind in a way that it hadn't been before, because now I had a new view. Now I had another option. It was kind of, if I just made it a dichotomy, it was kind of a second option instead of option number one, some kind of religion. Well, I'll say a third option. Option number one, some kind of religion. Option number two, no religion at all, no belief. Option number three, well, we can't know either way. So why don't we find ways to play? Why don't we find ways to kind of tinker around and see how big we can go? Let's push outward and see how far the actual boundaries are. Maybe the perceived boundaries, the boundaries that we've created or allowed others to put on us, and then we've taken them as our own, internalized them. Maybe the boundaries we thought were right here, 2 feet from my face. Maybe where the actual boundary is 3,000 feet from my face. That's a big difference. How do I know that I'm not playing small? How do I know? Where is my guarantee? Where is my guarantee that if I follow this set of beliefs, that I will go here? Nobody can guarantee that, though. Nobody here has that power. Nobody here can say, trust me, I know if you do this, you'll go here. Trust me, I know, I read it. Trust me, somebody told me. Trust me, in a dream, it came to me. I know. How is someone's word going to hold up, though? Let's say you get to the pearl gates, or you get to a place of judgment after you've perished from this life, from this physical form, and now it's your judgment day. What if you get there and you say, but these people told me, they promised me that if I just did this, I would go here, and you're telling me something different? How do we know that's not what could happen? What we could do is live in fear that we chose wrong. We could live in fear that if we step outside of this perimeter, things are not going to go well for us. Maybe consider, is that really your purpose in life? To be afraid? Is that why you're here? Is to just be afraid? There is no way you're going to convince me that's true. There's no way. You're not going to convince me that's true for you. You're not going to convince me that's true for me. You're not going to convince me that's true for anybody. No way. There's no way. I refuse to believe that the sole reason I'm here is to be scared, to be small, and to not live up to my potential. There's no way at all. This is not how I used to feel, though. When I was going back and forth with religion and non-religion, I was scared. Scared I was making the wrong choice. Either way, is it the wrong branch of Christianity that I'm following? Am I saying the wrong prayers? Is it the right words? Am I going to the right church? Am I listening to the right people? Am I surrounded by the right support system? Am I supposed to follow the stuff from this part of the book, this part of the book? What if I can't do both? What if they don't work well together? How do I know if I'm choosing right? There were always questions because there was always fear. I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to question it out loud or even to myself because I'm scared. I'm scared to question. I'm scared that I'll be punished just for questioning, just for testing it, just for wanting to be strengthened in the belief by testing how solid it is. If I try to whack at it, I try to throw something at it, I try to explode something on it, I want to see how solid it is, but I can't even do that because I'm too scared that if I even try to check its durability, I'm going to be punished. So I know what it's like to be scared that you are possibly gambling your soul away if you don't choose correctly, if you don't follow to a T something that you think is going to guarantee you someplace. I know what that's like. Let me tell you where I am right now. I believe that if I'm fundamentally a good person, that good things will come to me. Do bad things happen to good people? Yes. Do good things happen to bad people? Yes. That shouldn't stop me from trying to be a good person. That's my philosophy. Is just because bad things can happen to good people, can and do. Tragic things can happen to good people, can and do. That shouldn't stop me from being a good person, from striving to be a good human. What's within my power? What's within my control towards advancing me wanting to be a good person? Well, if I can help people in some way, why not? Maybe I'll be helped too. Maybe I'll be helped first. Maybe I'll be helped in return. Maybe I won't be helped at all. But I still can choose how I want to show up in the world, what energy I want to put out. So if for me, I find it most meaningful to leave behind a legacy that I can be proud of, and that includes helping as many people as possible, as many beings as possible. That's what drives me. And I don't need a religion to tell me that. I don't need fear to tell me that. What I'm using is because there is uncertainty on the nature of reality. We don't know what's right or correct. We don't know if we're actually guaranteed anything. We don't know if we're actually even in control, if we can even choose, make choices towards going one place or another, or some third option. Since we don't know, why not see how far we can go? It's not new to hear advice like, go for your dreams, which is essentially what I'm telling you, which is essentially what I am telling you to do. I am encouraging you. Go for the biggest asks. Live your dreams. Why would I bother going through the discussion on the nature of reality just to end up telling you that? Well, the advice by itself sounds a little bit delusional. The advice, if I say something like, you are the main character, this could be a dream or a game, you're the hero. I mean, that sounds a little delusional because you're essentially asking people to pretend something. When you just say it in isolation, you're the main character, you're the hero, you're asking them to pretend something because you're saying, pretend you're in a dream or a story, game, simulation, and act accordingly. We see this as pretend because if we firmly believe that reality is not actually a dream or a game, then we just think we're faking the funk. Not everyone wants to play pretend, especially people who fancy themselves logical thinkers. People that figure they're believing something because it makes sense. It makes actual sense. When you completely obliterate the notion that we can even know exactly how reality works, then even the logical thinkers have to pause. If you're a logical thinker, you have to pause. You have to have this discussion. If you think that you're a logical thinker, You have to have this discussion. And once you realize you too can never prove or disprove the nature of reality, there's no one who can, because how do we know it's not just another game character trying to tell us it's not a game? How do we know it's not just another person in the dream telling us there was some big bang? We don't know. I'm not saying there wasn't a big bang. I'm not saying there was a big bang. I'm just saying, however we got here, maybe there's more that we can manifest. Maybe there's more that we can create. Maybe we're not as limited as we have been led to believe. So if we can never know if we're in a dream or simulation, if we can never know if we're choosing the one correct path, if there maybe there's only one. That's what a lot of religions will say, is it's just this one. It's not, well, you can choose this or the other, and this one you just get a slight discount. Like, it's not, price shopping, price comparison, where they're essentially the same thing, just which flavor do you prefer? It's supposed to be, no, it's this one, and if you think anybody else, you're doomed. How do we know which one to pick? We don't know which one to pick. We can't know which one to pick. Why don't we just live out our dreams, be good people, leave meaningful legacies of helping others? Why would that lead to damnation? It might. It might, if your role is supposed to be subservient or essentially a slave and just stay in a box and not aspire to anything, maybe. But if we can't know either way, I mean, so which way do you want to gamble? It's a gamble either way, because we don't know what the actual outcome is going to be for any of us. We don't actually know. We're just guessing here. Some of us think we're making educated guesses. Well, either way, we're gambling. And if there's only one right choice and nobody knows which choice that is, because they all say they're the right choice, what do you do? How do you pick? How do you live? Instead of staying in a place where you're scared and you're limited, just, is that really your purpose? I asked this earlier, and I'm asking you again, dear listener. Is that your purpose in life? Do you think that you're not here to create something phenomenal for others? Do you think that you're not here to make connections of the strongest order? Do you think that you're not here to aspire, to inspire? Do you think you're not here for that? Because I think you are here for that. I think you are here for all of those things. And the sooner you wake up to that, the sooner you wake up to that, the sooner you will finally get into alignment. You will finally get into alignment. You are here to aspire and inspire. You are here to do it big. That's why you're here. You're here to do it big. The only existence that you are aware of is your own. That's all you have. It looks like we can't live as anybody else, so we might as well live as ourselves. Who would that be? Is that supposed to be someone small and insignificant? No way. There's no way. Live your dreams. How would you behave or live in your dreams? Are you afraid in your dreams? Let's say you had the best dream of your life so far. What happened in it? Imagine, let's say you can't think of something. Oh, what was the best dream I ever had in my life? I don't know. Maybe I was just doing this one little thing. But let's say tonight, You're going to have the best dream of your life when you go to sleep. What's going to happen in that dream? Is it a dream in which you're scared? Is it a dream where you don't matter? Is it a dream where you had absolutely no impact at all? It was like you didn't even exist? Is that the best dream of your life? Surely not. Surely not. If we're able to be free in a dream, why is that allowed? Why would that be allowed? Why would it be allowed in a dream, but not in a non-dream? If you were meant to stay afraid, stay limited, stay within this little box, why doesn't that hold in our dreams too? Why is that only when we're awake? Or sometimes that is how people dream. It's definitely not going to be the best dream of their lives. But if we're able to think freely in our dreams, if we imagine the best dream of our lives, one in which we are in control of what happens or what we do or where we go, how things appear, why would that freedom be there for us while we're sleeping, but not when we're awake? Let's think on that. It's like a tease, isn't it? Ha ha, you thought you were free, but you were just dreaming. Wake up. That's kind of mean, right? Isn't that cruel? Oh, you thought that you actually could have your own business. You thought you could work for yourself. You thought you could make a product to help women. You thought you could help people get into the best shape of their lives. You thought you could help nurse people to health. Oh, nope. That was just a dream. The reality is you're stuck behind this desk helping somebody else live their dreams. You are sacrificing your family, your friends, your well-being to be on a grind doing something you don't even care about. You don't even care that much about. Why would that contrast exist? I like to think that it's not you can be one way in a dream and another way when you're not dreaming. I think you can be the way you're in a dream, the way that you're awake. I mean, when you're awake. I think you can be the same in a dream and awake. I think you can be the same in a dream and awake. If in your dreams you're running a successful business or you're helping feed people, you're helping nurse people back to health, you're helping to encourage people, you can do those things not dreaming. What if this is still dreaming though? What if this is still dreaming? How do you know? How do you know it's not? How do you know you're not still dreaming, but it's just a different part of the dream where your legs are heavy and you have to walk and you can't just float or fly? How do you know it's not still part of the dream? Maybe the freedom that we can experience in a dream is just a preview of what we can actually do when we're not dreaming or in a different part of the dream. Maybe the freedom that we're feeling, that we can feel, even if it's just fleeting, is just a taste of what we can actually live, of how we can actually live, how we can actually experience our reality. How do you know? Why not try it? I think the preview is there for a reason. And the reason is to show us our actual potential realized. Our actual potential realized. If we were in a video game, do you think you are meant to just be some one person who doesn't make a difference at all? for somebody else? Do you think that you're just a side character? One that the main character never interacts with. The main character doesn't learn from you. There's no story, there's no lesson. You're just taking up space in the background. You're just part of the decorations. You're like an object. Do you think that's what your role in a video game would be? I mean, I wouldn't want to play a game like that if I was choosing. If I was choosing games to play, I'm not going to pick the one where I'm some nobody who doesn't get to do anything fun or adventurous. Some nobody who doesn't actually go for the adventure, say yes, have the biggest asks. I'm not going to choose that game. How do you know that you can't choose a different game? Maybe the game that you're playing right now is not the game that's meant for you. Maybe the path you're going down is not the path for you. If we don't even question the nature of reality and wonder, well, actually, is it possible for me to do this or that? Then where does that leave us? If we say, nope, it's just this one thing, nothing else, I'm not going to try anything else, where does that leave us? Someone like that, to me, doesn't sound like they are growth oriented. They don't sound like they aspire to more. In case you needed a sign, here it is. You are made for more. Why not shape your reality in a way that you find meaningful? I'll share another story, something that happened to me recently that I felt like was this huge breakthrough. I have been making little updates and tweaks to my LinkedIn page. What I've been using LinkedIn for, when I originally started, it was just to kind of chronicle my academic and work experiences. It was, I went to this school, I learned these topics, and then I worked these jobs to show future employers my experience and my education, because that's supposed to be something of a resume. Is look where all I've worked, look what all I've learned. The other day, I'm telling you, it was just the other day, I had an epiphany. And I thought, you know what? At this point, the things that I want to do, how I want to shape my reality, does not require that I give any nods or mentions of where exactly I worked. The most important thing for me and what I want to do next is just how I sum up the experience. It doesn't matter which company it was. It doesn't matter what state it was in. I'm going to remove those things from my profile. And I did. I just changed them to public school, charter school, tutoring company, because the details of where I was are irrelevant. Irrelevant. That's how I'm going to shape my reality. Is what I want to do next. It doesn't depend on that. It doesn't depend on that. Those are just stops along the way. But where I stop doesn't matter. It's more the lesson that matters, not the geography, not the location, not the company. There's no more working at schools in the future for me. I'm finally putting my foot down and I'm saying no more. No more. So it doesn't matter where I worked before. It used to matter to me because I thought, oh, if I want to work at another school, I'd want them to see what other schools that I've worked at for credibility. Well, now that I don't care about working at any more schools, I don't need it. I don't need that credibility. I don't need to show that I worked at this particular school and what all the prestige around it was, because that isn't going to matter. What I'm working on now that will come next for me, this is pivotal. This is pivotal. Erasing the names of the actual employers has felt the most incredibly freeing that of anything that I've done on my profile ever. The most freeing, because now it's not, oh, you worked at this place. The focus instead is, oh, these were the impacts that you had. These were the things that you did to empower others. These are the lessons that you took from that experience. That's where the focus is. And that's where I want the focus to be. Because if I'm going to shape my reality or try to, who knows how this works? I don't know how this works, but I'm trying it. I never would have thought to do this before a few days ago. It wasn't even a question. It wasn't, well, should I keep the employer names? Because who does that? Who doesn't put their employer's names for all of their jobs? Well, somebody who doesn't care if you know where they worked. But I cared. I cared. I wanted them to see I was at this school, and then I was at this particular one, and I was at this particular place. I cared. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I say it doesn't matter. And I'm going to make that part of my reality. So whoever comes into my life at this point, they don't care about that. They care about what I want them to care about. If I wasn't thinking about the uncertainty of knowing the nature of reality, I wouldn't have even considered this. But because I'm back in the space, I'm living in the space. I'm intentionally here thinking, well, why not try it? Let's see what happens. Why not? I don't know how any of this works. Why don't I give this a go? Something that I never would have thought of doing. Let me try it now. Let me try it because trying it is in alignment with the direction I want to go. Not trying it is against the direction where I want to go. Why not try that on for size? Why not believe the universe is on your side? Why not believe that reality wants more for you than you want for yourself? Why not choose to believe that? So I'll end the episode here, not the conversation. Surely we might need to come back to this as a refresher to help propel us forward, to help get us unstuck, to help us get the momentum after we've started. So I'll end the episode here, but not the discussion, and I will leave you with this insight. Reality is negotiable. Thank you for listening to Power Podcast with Queen Beauté, because transformation begins the moment your mind awakens to its power.